Alhamdulillah, as-salatu was-salamu ala rasulillah wa ba'd. Fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wa mimma razaqnahum yunfikun. Sadaqallahu al-azim. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. With it being the third of Ramadan now, I'm going to share a reminder from the third juz. So the idea will be, inshallah, to share a reminder from the Quran, one from each juz, and we'll take our way through the Quran. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us a sign of the believers is وَمِمَّا رَزَقَنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. Believers are those who spend from what we have given them. When it comes to charity, the first thing we need to know, and charity is a big part of being a Muslim, a big part of Islam. Third pillar of Islam, zakat, is all about charity. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that the believers are those people who spend from what we have given them. The understanding and concept should be that whatever we give, it's from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. It's from what we have given us, He has given us, we are spending in His way. We don't own anything independently of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses us, and then we share what Allah has blessed us with in His way. In the third juz of the Quran, still Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives an example of the people who spend their wealth in the way of Allah. And what we do when we spend, we give charity, it's in the way of Allah, in the cause of Allah, for the religion of Allah, to help the people of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself does not benefit in any way, shape or form from what we give. The Jews used to say that Allah is faqir, Allah is needy, and we are ghani, we are wealthy. Look, He's asking us to give charity. He's not asking you to give it to Him. He gives it to you. Then He commands you to give it to the poor, which is a test for them and a test for you. Allah does not need anything from this. Everything we have is from Allah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions and says that the example of those who spend their wealth in the way of Allah is like a seed of grain which grows 7 spikes. And in each spike is 100 grains. So 700 grains here. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving this example, meaning when you spend, for example, £1 in the way of Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward that with 700. There's no investment you can make, but you invest £1 and you get 700 return. I don't even know what percentage return that is, probably 700% return, isn't it? So you invest £1 and you get 700 reward. Everyone would be throwing their money that way if they understood this properly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, when you're spending in charity, that money is not lost. It's not wasted. It's invested. So smart people are those who invest in these things, in charitable projects and charitable works, because they realize that there's a handsome reward awaiting them from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then, after mentioning that it has 100 grains each, Allah Almighty said that Allah multiplies the reward for whoever He wants. So the reward doesn't stop at 700. The reward goes beyond 700. And there's no limit to the reward. The limit is only in our intention. The limit is only in our sincerity. It's our sincerity and our intention and our need of being recognized by other people that limits our reward. If it wasn't for our own selves being an obstacle, the reward would be unlimited. We limit the reward ourselves because of our mixed intentions and our diluted sincerity. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says that Allah is all-encompassing, all-knowing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then mentions those who spend their wealth in the way of Allah and then do not follow up what they have spent with reminders of it. So one of the signs of believers is, the reason why I picked out this particular reminder, because it's Ramadan. People give more charity in Ramadan than any other month. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning a sign of the believers and saying that they are those who spend their wealth in the way of Allah and they don't follow up what they've spent with reminders. That they give it, it's done. They don't then remind the person who they've given to that, remember last year I gave you some money. Remember you needed something and I helped you. Or people who give zakat back home in the Quran. And let's say, tumhara flana kam kar mare wasti. And they'll say, why should I? And they'll say, main tu zakat dena. I'm feeding you basically. You're living off me, but you're giving them zakat. Zakat is the haqq of the poor person. And someone asked me today, saying, can you buy khujur with zakat money? Can you buy khujur with zakat money? He said, you can, but the question is, what are you going to do with the khujur after that? Je apu khaso, the faith the jais the nina, that you need to give zakat, say 10 pounds zakat, and you buy khujur with that 10 pounds zakat money, and now you eat the khujur, that's going to be haram. But you can't benefit from your own zakat yourself. You could spend that 10 pounds to buy khujur and then give that khujur to the poor and needy people who you could have given the 10 pounds to, but instead you decided to give them the dates, the khujur. But this person was thinking and hoping that there was some kind of loophole in the Islamic law where you could buy khujur, like, because it's a religious thing, food, isn't it? For example, it's a sunnah food. So if it was a burger, you wouldn't be allowed to do that. Because it's khujur and maybe zamzam water, it's allowed because it's a religious type of food item and food product. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the believers are not those who follow up what they've spent with reminders. They don't remind people, oh, I gave this to you and I did this favor for you and I did that for you. Did they do it for you or did they do it for the sake of Allah? Right? So they do it for the sake of Allah and they don't follow it up with reminders or with injury. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says they'll have the reward with their Lord and there'll be no fear concerning them, nor shall they grieve. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions something else to us. He says, kind speech and forgiveness are better than charity followed by injury. It's better not to give somebody something and just say, forgive me. You know, when you go to Pakistan, for example, you have people coming to you asking, you say, maaf karo. Yeah? Maaf karo, the concept comes from here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that seeking forgiveness is better. That if you can't help them, for whatever reason, you say, forgive me. Yeah? For not being able to help you. Just forgive me. Right? Or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, kind speech. I'm sorry I can't help you. Kind speech and forgiveness. So seeking forgiveness and I'm sorry I can't help you is better than giving them something and then following that thing that you gave them up with words of injury and abuse and such thing. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says, and Allah is free of need and forbearing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free from every single need you might think that He has. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then mentions that, O you who have believed, do not invalidate your charities with reminders or injury, as does one who spends his wealth only to be seen by the people and does not believe in Allah and the last day. Now, what are these people? Those who they do charity. Now, there's a concept Islamically that you can give charity openly with the intention that it's going to encourage other people to give. It's jaiz, it's allowed, but it's better to give secretly, which preserves your sincerity. Because you might say, like a lot of the Bawe, they do alan in the masjid, and they'll say, Mar naam ki nahi hai. But then pata laga main 50 pound dete hain. And then you say, look, zaruri hai na dasna. They'll say, you know, ulan ki bhi pata, fir is paas hai unna dil karsi na dene waste. So they'll kind of blend their boastful intention. I'm not saying all of them are like that, but some definitely are. That they'll mix their boastful intention with you, but encourage karne wasti mein aisa karna. Halanki, the better thing to do to preserve your own sincerity would be anonymously. Nobody knows, it's between you and Allah. One of the groups of people are going to be shaded on the day of judgment. On the day, there will be no shade except the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the person who gives charity with his right hand and his left hand doesn't even know. Let alone his neighbor knows and his cousins know and everybody knows on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and made charity dena pya. Rather, the right hand gives and the left hand doesn't know what's going on. That's how discreetly the right hand is giving charity. Now, people often give me charity money and say, Ustadh, I'm giving this to you. Please don't mention to me that I don't mention to anyone that I gave it, but this is for such and such cause that you're raising money for, etc. And I won't say anything to anyone regarding what they've given. Similarly, people have various projects going on, they're raising money for charity. There's always options for anonymous, there's an option for mentioning your name. Both are fine. But what you have to do is keep your sincerity in check. So doing charity and giving charity openly is good. There's a risk to a person's own level of sincerity. So the better thing to do would be to give it secretly and try your utmost best that nobody even finds out. But we have this thing in ourselves, our ego wants people to know that we've got wealth. And it wants people to know that we give charity as well. And you give it, so do I. And I'm no less than you. People, this is part of the evils of the heart. the diseases within the heart, that we need people to know who's giving what. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to understand these teachings, be people who give charity, but give charity purely for the pleasure of Allah, purely seeking His pleasure and reward on the Day of Judgment, and not doing it to show off to anybody or to win any brownie points or gain any acknowledgement within the community. In Keighley, the Jamia Masjid, the opposite Asda, I was there Jummah 2016, and there's one Baba who'd given £50, and unfortunately they missed his name off the list. They have a Lambi Chori list there, like 10 minutes, they're just reading everybody's name, and they don't just read the name, they say which Quran they're from. So Samla Gora Sharif and Flana Pind and Flana Pind, and they're all. And I said to them that them 10 minutes you could give me, and I could mention a hadith, I could mention an ayat of the Quran, I could mention a fiqhi masala, and that is such vital time you're just spending reading out a list. And then they say, if we don't read the list, they won't give the money. So then that begs the question, what they're giving the money for? And this Baba, they forgot to mention, in fact, they did mention him, but they said, Haji Sahib Ravi pound then. And he shouted out from the back, he goes, Punjab pound son, Punjab. Really son. They go, Madhur Chane, Haji Sahib Punjab pound then. He goes, theek hai. This is the elders, Allah bless them, guide all of us. Wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wa afdalu salati wa